Hey everyone, I want to talk about pendulums. I have a fair amount of pendulums, but there's two that I typically use. They're like my go-to pendulums, and I use them quite often in hypnotherapy. So I'm going to get to why I use them, but first I just want to talk about my pendulum. So the first one that I use quite often is one that was gifted to me. This is rose quartz. It's very beautiful. And the second one is one I made. This is orgonite. It has a Herkimer diamond, and then it's turquoise, selenite, and blue abatate, and there's copper inside as well. And it has a clear pointed quartz crystal that's wrapped in copper as well. So these are my two go-to pendulums that I like to use for hypnotherapy and other things. So essentially, when I am doing hypnotherapy, one of the big things I use my pendulum for is to tell me if my client needs more time processing something. So I might have somebody, for example, work with their inner child and tell them, okay, go do that. Go on a journey with your inner child. And when I speak again, you'll have had all the time you need. Well, the point isn't to just wait a few seconds and then rush them, be like, okay, you've had all the time you need. It's to make sure they've had enough time. So part of the way I do that is I'll ask my pendulum, and I'll ask, because I've had times where it's like, do they need more time? And I get yes. So I wait. And then I'll ask again in a little bit, do they need more time? Yes or no. My pendulum tells me. I like to have people go into a safe place before we really get into the work of hypnotherapy. And I like them to spend time in their safe place and just enjoy it. I might use my pendulum to make sure they have enough time while in their safe place. Another thing that I'll use a pendulum for is sometimes when working with clients, I want to push a little bit more. I want to explore something, but they've already done a lot. I'll ask my pendulum, should we move on to that part going on? Should we explore that? And my pendulum will tell me yes or no. And I have to say, doing that anytime after the session, I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to move forward, but I didn't. I asked my pendulum, it said no. Or, I wanted to move forward. I asked my pendulum, it said yes, which is why we did that. The client always tells me, I'm glad you did, or I'm glad you didn't. It was right. So, believe what you want about it, but I trust my pendulums. There are other things that can come up. Anytime there's a bit of uncertainty on where to go with something, I go to my pendulum just to kind of get that reassurance. So yeah, I use pendulums to help me get answers when I need it. It's just that reassurance. I feel it helps. The clients say it helps. So that's what I do. And I do use pendulums for other things, but right now I'm just talking about hypnotherapy. And just also a side note, different pendulums can swing different ways to mean different things. So if you're interested in using a pendulum, find one that resonates with you. And then typically, this is the way I do it, to get my answers, I'll ask it and say make sure it's still, show me yes. And then I'll start moving in a position that means yes. Show me no. And then it starts moving another way to indicate no. Now, show me I don't know. And then it starts moving a different way to represent I don't know. I write down my answers because I'm not going to remember that if I don't write it down, but I write down my answers and then I'll ask again. I usually ask 3 times just to make sure it's right. So that's how I get not program my pendulum, but essentially figure out what's what, what's yes, what's no. And again, like I said, different pendulums have different ways of giving the answer. So if you have any questions, reach out to me, Monique at understandingshypnosis.com or here on YouTube. And I hope you found this fun and informative. See ya.